Friends, as a budding author of works on physiology, I recently decided to go to the movies and watch a film. This film is called, well, the third part of Avatar. So, why did I decide to analyze it, and how is it even related to physiology? The main principle of physiology, the one it's based on, is that there is some kind of cause and there is causality. A specific cause leads to a specific effect. If, again, this cause and effect match up, then everything works normally in the human body. If you don't really know this cause and the resulting effect, then things start to get a bit unclear. Some kind of situation arises. So, using this film as an example, I think it's pretty interesting to break down the cause and effect relationships, because the storyline itself, in my opinion, is built in a rather specific way. When you watch it, the plot, even if you just take the first part, that moment when people travel millions of light years on interstellar ships, maybe they have something. Warp drives, I would guess. Because they travel at almost more or less the speed of light. They managed to reach this planet, Pandora, in 5 years. So I assume they have warp drives, they've achieved some major breakthroughs, but at the same time, their planes, arrows pierce them from the sides or something. Even though back in World War II, there were planes that couldn't be penetrated by automatic or machine gun bullets. Yeah, those planes were bulletproof. But in our movie, they show a guy shooting an arrow and piercing the cockpit glass of a plane, or the windshield of a robot. So, leading someone for 5 years just to have them killed by an arrow is also pretty interesting. Of course, I think the situation is, but that's even about the first Smildy. And now we're already at the third installment. It's already out, and I think there will be a lot more moments like that. The first thing, yeah, is that Jake and Sully, along with their family, are living with their sea buddies. You know, the ones who are kind of, they're already light blue, right? Like their skin is light blue while the others are dark blue. Well, those are their buddies, the ones who hang out by the sea. And it seems like everything is fine with them. The only problem is that they have this Spider Man, the one they call Spider, and everyone is kind of looking for him. Well, not even that, everyone is looking for him. He can't breathe their local air because there are some impurities in it that don't let humans breathe. Or rather, they don't let us breathe. But for a human, it's just not possible. And that's why Jake decides to send him off with the trader ships to the human base so he can live with people. And again, so he can breathe normally with Earth's air. He used to walk around with a mask, and he had something else. In the third movie, his mask kept running out of power, even though in the second movie it never did, and if we remember the first movie, it didn't either. All those guys, they used to run around with those masks. They were basically like gas masks, right? And their masks never ran out of power at all. But now his started to lose charge. The mask. And so the first thing that happens is these trader ships arrive. But it's not just that they're flying by, because these ships are like jellyfish, some kind of weird thing, kind of like a jellyfish. It's not clear whether it's alive or just some dead substance. And this substance is controlled by some kind of ray that swims through the sky. And really, it's some kind of amorphous thing, kind of like a ray. And of course, sorry that I can't edit videos that well, so I have to show the photos like this. So basically, just so you get it, this is the big ship here. And this thing is leading the ship. Yeah, this is how it looks from another angle. I can zoom in too. So it's something like this, you know, in that style. I mean, what even is this? Like, is it a bee or what? You can't even tell how it's floating. And of course, I get that it has a denser atmosphere, which makes it possible. Like, it lets those huge dragons and all that stuff they ride actually fly. But it's one thing for a dragon, and another thing for some soapy looking thing just floating through the sky. And so this ship arrives. And there to greet it, let me show you, is this nice looking guy. Let me show you a picture of a guy. Here's what the nice guy looks like. Here he is. Basically, this is the nice guy with the shaved head. Yeah, shaved heads look really cool in the fall for sure. So, this bald headed guy, and they want to hand over the spider to them so that they would take him to the human base so he could live with people like them. But then Jake's wife, yeah, Jake and Sonia and all their kids, they started begging. No, let's not give him away. Let's keep him with us. And Jake suggests a compromise. How about we all go together with these traders on their beautiful ship? So, this is a guy who made it through Latin America, fought in several wars on Earth, managed to break his spine. He's been through all that, and even fought 5 light years away. Even in those very ones, the warrior rode the red dragon, became a corpse there, a Mocktobe, and several tribes. And at the same time, he finds out that everyone is looking for him because he's wanted by the whole Earth, since he's a traitor to the planet. Yeah, everyone's after him, and he realizes it's really risky. And he wants to fly with these guys on the jellyfish somewhere together with Jake. Well, together with that spider they're taking to the human base. So it's kind of, well, a certain level of abstraction, you know? It's a bit unclear. He takes his whole family with him, just to make sure they can all get taken out along the way. So they get on this ship and sail off on it. Yeah, and so they're flying, enjoying the sky, enjoying these floating islands that for some reason they keep showing every single time. And of course, you realize that China is really beautiful, and maybe they took this from China. Yeah, those floating mountains from the first movie, the floating mountains in part one, that was cool. It really looked awesome. In the second movie, there's an intro with floating mountains. In the third movie, the intro is again with floating mountains. Every time, the plot of Avatar, both in the second and third movies, is basically a copy. So it starts with this beautiful world that seems impossible to ruin. Then everything is great until the bad guys show up and we start fighting them. Every time they kill Colonel Quaritch, and somehow, with every new element, he comes back to life. He was killed in the first movie, then brought back to life in the second, and then killed again in the second. In the third movie, he somehow shows up again. And you know what? In the third movie, he also comes back from the dead. I think in the fourth movie, he'll return too. Waiting for Colonel Quaritch's comeback in part 4. I'm curious how he'll show up this time. He's already come back as one avatar, then as another avatar. Maybe he'll show up as a third avatar too. We'll make it happen. He'll come to us, and we'll be waiting for his return. Basically, Colonel Quaritch is obviously looking for his spider. Because that's his son, and he's also after Jake, since he's been dreaming about taking him down for a long time. So here they are, sitting down on this thing. How do I put it? Well, it's like a parachute. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. And they're floating off somewhere on it. And then basically the fire people show up, the Fire Nation, just like in Avatar, but in a different Avatar. Not the one with us, but the other one, where there was also a Fire Nation. Here, though, it's not the Fire Nation, but the Fire Clan, a special Fire Clan led by a woman, who happens to be Chaplin's granddaughter. In other words, Chaplin's granddaughter is running the show there. So here's actually a photo of Chaplin's granddaughter who played in the movie. Here's another photo of Chaplin's granddaughter. But yeah, here's the actress herself. Take a look at the actress. She's pretty cool too, right? Yeah, for me, this whole thing, it just felt kind of, I don't know. This photo reminded me of Vicky for some reason. Yeah, that's it. Oh, I totally called this photo Lift My Eyelids. Let me flip it. Lift My Eyelids. There's definitely something similar there. Yeah, so Stoyan, and I don't like this phone. Something about it. I feel like there's something to it. Basically, yeah, they swoop in on them, burning up their ships. And then there's this shot, like some kind of jellyfish like thing trying to fly up, but everything gets burned. All these kids are falling, and Quaritch is running too. We track them down, we figured out where they are. Quaritch comes running, and the Fire Clan shows up too, trying to attack them, as always. And also, it was Chaplin's granddaughter who shot Jake's wife. Yeah, that's right. Varanga. Yeah, I remembered her name. Varanga. Basically, she got shot, but then she'll come to her senses and basically fly back to the base. And she'll fly back to the base where her forest people live. So that's actually on the other side of the planet, basically. Meaning she'll fly halfway across the moon on her Banshee, even though she's been shot with an arrow. Yeah, that too. I think that's also really interesting. Yeah, the cause and effect logic here. When someone's been shot, and it's obvious they have a hemothorax, or at least a pneumothorax for sure, and then they fly across half the planet and somehow make it, and even manage to find their way. I mean, I get it. She's got a lot of life experience. She spent half her life running through all those forests, but probably just her own forests, not the whole planet. But still. Nevertheless, she finds this base and they don't even operate on her there. Basically, she more or less recovers. And then these kids are left behind, they're running after them, the Fire Clan is chasing them. It's just a pure showdown. So Colonel Quaritch and Chaplin's granddaughter, they start scheming there. But at first, of course, Chaplin's granddaughter just wants to learn how to shoot automatic weapons. Next shot, it's our uncle. They basically said, that's it, we're allies now, friends, and we'll destroy Pandora together with the humans. We'll all arm ourselves and destroy our Awa, because the Fire Clan is really mad at Awa, since Awa didn't help them out back in the day. And now they like fire. And Ash, too. So basically, the third movie is called Fire and Ash, right? So basically, here. Oh, I even started, flipping in the other direction. Well, I also found a pretty funny photo. There's something cool here, too. And here's Colonel Quaritch from the first movie, how he actually looked back when he was still human. Later, he stopped being human. Well, I mean, his soul stayed human, yeah, but his body was already different. And finally, they found those kids. Yeah, Colonel Quaritch. Then they lost him again. That happened to them a few times, actually. Then Colonel Quaritch even caught Jake Sully and brought him back to the base. And he caught him in such a way that he showed up at those sea people's place where they were hanging out. And he said, "Bring me Jake." Jake came out himself and said, "That's it, I give up. Just don't touch anyone else." Of course, his wife wanted to shoot Quaritch, but he didn't let her do it then. And I remember when Quaritch said, "Jake, either you come out or..." I threw the old lady out of her hut because I didn't give a damn. The speeches, of course, were interesting. So basically, Jake is taken back to the base. They're already planning to execute him. They want to shoot him. So some biologist, when he found out they wanted to kill all the whales, all of them, he just couldn't take it anymore and sat down. He got into his car and blew up the aquarium where Jake was being held. Jake escaped. He flew away on his Banshee with his wife, who had come for him. At the same time, they left that biologist behind. After that, they didn't show what happened to the biologist. Maybe they shot him instead of Jake in the morning. That's my guess. But we never found out what happened to that biologist. So basically, Jake united everyone. He brought together a bunch of clans. He found his red dragon. He rode the red dragon. Now he got his old title back. And he united all the Na'vi. All their animals, even with the Tulkens. Somehow they managed to make a deal. The Tulkens also started flipping over their little ships. So basically, first the Tulkens were flipping the ships, then the Na'vi swam in. The battle started, and at first it seemed like they were winning, but then the Fire Clan showed up and started setting everything on fire with their machine guns. And it kind of ended up as a draw or something like that by the end. Oh, and by the way, this is what the meeting looked like. Of those clans, when they were with the Tolkiens and the Na'vi. At their meeting, when they were talking and trying to convince the Telkin to change their ways and join the fight. Yeah, and there was also this cool shot when our guys, yeah, they arrived at Jake's place and they were all made to sit down. Yeah, on their knees. This is more or less what it looked like. And Spider is shown here too. Oh, and by the way, speaking of Spider, his mask ran out of power, and that was it. He should have died already. But that little girl, the one played by Sigourney, she basically put Spider up to Awa, and Awa gave him life by having the mycelium grow into his lungs, and he started to breathe. Well, yeah, when you've spent 6 years in med school and then someone tells you about how the mycelium helps him breathe with some kind of different air. Yeah, it all looks kind of funny to some extent too, but let's just go with it. But maybe that's not even the funniest thing in this movie. I think this shot right here is way funnier. Like, some dude is jumping with a whale. I have no idea how many meters that is. Man, I don't know, maybe 200 meters? I mean, just imagine, right? This dude jumps on a whale and he just, I don't know, goes up 200 meters just to splash into the water. And he's so happy about it. Like, there's so much joy in him. Honestly, I don't know how happy someone would be if you threw them into the water from 200 meters up. Rate from 1 to 10 how happy the guy would be if he fell headfirst into the water from 200 meters up. I'm just really curious. And maybe not even into the water, but onto the whale. But on the other hand, this whale has some kind of goo in its brain that grants immortality, so maybe nothing would even happen to him. Basically, that's why all these whales are killed, because they have this goo that makes a person immortal. Yeah, that's the whole point of these whales, kind of. Even the guy with no arms wanted to make a quick $100 million, but in the end, the blind whale is going to eat him anyway. Yeah, at the end. I guess that's probably all I wanted to say. Subscribe and, read my book so you at least know what cause and effect is. If you're interested, especially if you're into physiology, especially if you're studying in medical school, or if you just like a healthy lifestyle, if you're curious about human physiology and how it really works, in this example from a fictional world, we tried to break down at least some of the nuances of fictional physiology. If you're interested in the nuances of real physiology, you can check out my work. Thank you all.